Hey everyone, this is Drake Bell, and you're watching Childhood DVD Fan right here on YouTube.
How's it going, everyone? This is Childhood DVD Fan here, and I'm back with not just an ordinary video or an ordinary interview. I have with me an extremely special guest. You Drake and Josh fans out there may recognize this man. This man is Elliot Woods. He is an American actor who has appeared in over 50 films and movies before, including such as Friends, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Insurrection, Scrubs, Hannah Montana, NCIS Ballers, and NCIS Los Angeles, and so much more. Elliot, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
You're very, very welcome. And we are going to be talking in this interview about the helicopter episode that Elliot was a part of. So for you Drake and Josh fans out there, this was season 4, episode 18. It was shot as part of episode 10 in the season order, but they broke it down for television. So the first question I have here is, what's the backstory on how you got the role as Vince?
Wow. Okay. Excellent question. It's funny. That was the period right before everything went digital. So back in those days, the agents used to have courier services. They put headshots in a package, have it couriered over to the studio, et cetera, right? So when I got wind of this particular role being available, normally I'm like, well, let's see what my agent comes up with. But when I heard about this role, something just kind of clicked. And I think for the first time in my career, I hand wrote a letter to Krisha Bullock, who was the casting director at the time. I hand wrote a letter, included a headshot, and delivered it to the front gate of the studio, right? And she ended up getting that package. But what had happened is my agent had submitted me for a smaller role on the same show. So they called me in for the smaller role first. And meanwhile, I knew that on Monday, the following Monday, I had this audition for the larger part, which was Vince. So after I did the audition, Krisha didn't realize that I was being submitted for 2 different roles. So after I finished the role for the smaller role on the show, on my way out the door, I said, well, I'll see you on Monday. And she's like, for what? And I said, oh, I'm coming back to read for the role of Vince. And she's like, you are? And then she looked at her list and she saw my name. She's like, oh, wow, I'm sorry. Normally we don't call people in for 2 roles. And I'm like, hey, no problem. And then I think she said something to the effect of, wow, well, that sure is a whole lot of copy for you to memorize. And I said, don't worry, I'll see you on Monday. And there was just something about it that just spoke to me when I heard, because I'm kind of silly in my regular life anyway. Something about that role just spoke to me. And like I said, I did something out of character and ended up booking the job.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
The infamous splat in that episode, squat, pray, leap,
right.
Touchdown, that was absolutely hilarious. Do you remember maybe who came up with the role that did a writer maybe come up with it, or do you know who was the inventor of that whole thing?
The movements
of the splat, the whole word and
Oh, I forget the name of the writer who wrote the episode, but as far as all of the moving around and I also made the choice to let me talk like this instead of my normal voice. All of that was me, as was the movements and the jumping up and down and all that kind of stuff. It just made sense. And like I said, I'm kind of naturally silly anyway. So between what the writers wrote and they gave me leeway to do what I wanted to do with the role. And so we just had a blast, man.
That's great. Helicopter set, that's always been a huge, curiosity of me. Was it in front of a green screen at all? Was the helicopter prop on a special thing or something like that at all?
Yeah, it was set up on a special set of hydraulics to hold it up in the air, but it was maybe, I don't know, 5 feet off the ground, and I believe there was green screen behind it. Obviously, because they were shooting and there was no sky and there were no birds flying around.
Right.
So I believe it was green screen behind us, but they kept changing the angle of the camera so it would come through the windshield, and also I believe the side door of the helicopter. But I don't think they did much on the interior, just a little bit.
Okay. Because I was always curious, like how the prop department like did that, or how that setup was.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a real shell of a real helicopter, and I'm like, okay, go ahead, big boys, love it.
Something that you already mentioned, the bird, flying into the blades of the helicopter. Like, do you know, like, I assume obviously it wasn't a real bird. Like, do you know like what it was at all? Like that they used like for that scene when the bird hit the,
I know exactly what it was. It was a rubber chicken that had been dumped in a bucket of water. So it actually made the splat. And I think if you look at the clip, I think you'll see there's like juice on it. Yeah, that's what happened.
Because I was like, how did they get that to look like a bird? Like, that bird was real intelligent.
Yeah, man.
Such great memories. Another big part when you were, in that helicopter set, was when you hit your head on the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing for me, growing up. Like I was like curious, like behind the scenes of that, was it like made to be like safe? Like I assume obviously it wasn't a real like fire extinguisher. Like did you actually like hit your head on something soft, or like did they get a stunt double for that like part, or
No, unfortunately, I was my stunt double. And so what they had was an actual pole that was made out of metal, but they surrounded it with probably about that much foam rubber. And so, I hit my head. Let's see, if the camera was, let's say here, the pole was here. I hit my head like this, but very lightly, and then snapped it back to make it look like, I had really bonged my head. And then they added, I believe, one sound effect on there to make it sound like I'd hit metal. But yeah, no, I was my own stunt double.
In like certain falls, like very, very simple falls, and I can tell like when there's a stunt double. But that one, I was like, that looks pretty real. Like I'm not picking up the signs of it. Like it looked like, there wasn't a stunt double for that one.
No, they saved some money and used me as my own stunt double.
Another part of that, obviously, was when your character was knocked out. They were trying to, wake you up, and Josh was kind of like slapping you on the face, and obviously, like it sounded like they added a special effect, like for the slap, like in post. But like, was Drake like really nailing on you, like when he slapped you, or like,
No, well, the last one intentionally, and it's funny, you end up working that kind of stuff out in rehearsals. And he would, he was cool. He was always, conscientious of, what's going to hurt, what's not. And so he was like, okay, does that hurt? I'm like, no, it's cool. You can go a little harder. So we worked all of that out. The toughest part of that choreography was me slapping him back, because remember, I had my eyes closed. Right. And so I don't know exactly where his face is. No, I'm sorry. I think it's here. But if it's here and I swing too hard before I open my eyes, then I'm nailing him. So the bigger concern was me hitting him.
Okay.
But, we timed it out perfectly. And as I'm hitting his face, he's moving his face. So he never took the blow.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
he's kind of going with it, as opposed to me hitting him and then him going over.
Gotcha. It's just watching as a kid, like I always just wonder how certain things were done, and
Yeah,
I'm finally getting the answers. I'm so excited about that.
that's cool.
So, and the last part of you in the helicopter,
Mhm.
obviously Josh extinguishes you out of the helicopter. Your character goes flying. You
Right.
know, I assume that like you landed on like a pad, like some type of like special pad or something to protect your fall. Was that the case?
Yeah, exactly. What it was, like I said, it was probably 5 feet off the ground. I mean, it was a really thick pad, and the whole key to making the shot look real is me falling, and even though I've hit the pad, then I go like I'm dropping, and then also their eye line because they have to look where I landed, and then like the helicopter's moving. And so when you time both of those things together, and if it's done right, then you end up with a scene that holds up over time.
Absolutely, an instant classic. This is like a character question.
Sure.
This is something that I've always seen like as a mystery. So after like the helicopter incident, where you're extinguished out, your character's extinguished out, they have to jump out. They have to jump out.
Right,
It goes crashing into a field or who knows where. Um,
right.
one of the big mysteries, and this is I don't know if you know Drake and Josh Superfan, but he's a good friend of mine and he uploads clips from the show. And I see a lot
Okay.
of comments, and they wondered. One of the biggest comments is like, because it was never really explained. How was it that your character Vince was able to find out where they lived at the end of the episode? When you come with the bill, $400,000. You give it to Jonathan Goldstein, who played, Walter. It was kind of like a mystery. Like, what, like, was it on? Did Drake have to write his address on the application, like, to be able to,
Exactly. It was never
skydive?
stated. Yeah, it was never stated, but the assumption was made is that when we were doing the whole, okay, I'm going to teach you how to jump out of an airplane and all that kind of stuff, that the application stuff had happened already, even though nobody ever actively said that, but it was implied. Because you don't just take, kids up in a helicopter and not have any paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was always like that's what I would tell people. I'm like, he had to have put it on the application to
Right.
to be able to go up there, but it was like never said, so it was kind of always a mystery. So
Well, my question was always, okay, I know where they live. Where's the $400,000 coming from?
that's yeah,
I mean, is it in the couch? Where are we getting that money from? But nobody ever asked me, so I let it go.
that's good. I never thought about that like that. Um, so like behind the scenes, obviously, and working with Drake and Josh, how was it working with them? Like, how were they like to work with on set? It's just like how good was their chemistry?
Their chemistry was phenomenal, and what I really appreciated because they were probably I don't know I don't know how much younger they are than me, but it's always cool to see younger people that are very serious about their craft. I mean, not like maniacal, but they were serious about it. And they had kind of an unspoken code that they spoke in, where they didn't have to articulate everything. They'd say, we have to do it like we did the I don't know, the ambulance thing. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And so they spoke like that to one another, very inclusive with the guest stars. I'm trying to think of what else. It was impressive how prepared they both were, and they were really cool to me. In fact, I still run into Drake quite a bit. Oh, not quite a bit, maybe once or twice a year. We'll just randomly be at the same restaurant or whatever and see each other across the room and be like, oh, wow, and, catch up, end up talking about it. But it's funny how some shows, you know, maybe it doesn't have that magical thing where you still remember each other. Because remember, they're looking at a new guest actor every week over however many episodes they filmed. And if that's kind of cool when somebody remembers you out of 100 episodes, they remember you and maybe 4 or 5 other people. So,
Because one of the things I'll say quickly, from my
sure.
point of view, I don't know if you know this or not, but Drake had made this series after Drake and Josh called "Where's Walter." He brought a lot of former guests, onto this little mini YouTube series. And I was like hoping like that I would see you in there, but like there were certain people that weren't there. He brought back some guests, but I was like, oh, like I would have loved to have seen Vince again.
Yeah, man. I missed out on that one. But yeah, but like I said, it's still cool to run into him, you know, out and about.
Amazing. So when it comes to like the helicopter episode, in general, do you have
Mhm.
like maybe a favorite like quote that your character said or like a favorite part of that episode, like when you look
Hmm.
back at all?
Let me think. It probably is the line, "It's a Bill." I don't know why that sticks with me, but there was something about it because I remember the director wanted me to be angry, and yet I have to keep in mind that it's a kid show, right? So there's a certain way that you can look out of your eyes. Okay, like this way, this is a Disney look, and this way is a Nickelodeon look. It's more real. But since it's more real, I had to do, I guess, animate my voice a bit differently than I had been doing for the rest of the show. And something about that line just sticks out. It's a Bill. And that makes me laugh. So,
Uh,
in fact, I still get recognized from the episode. And what's funny is a lot of people will hit me with that one, and there's a couple of other ones, but that one comes up a lot.
Before we talked in this interview, you mentioned that you have some, kids. Did they like that episode? Like, did they watch it? Like, did they think like, oh, there's Dad?
Oh, no, no, well, let's see. No, they weren't here yet when the episode was filmed.
Oh,
And
okay.
so when they got here, and of course they, you know, Nickelodeon runs the same shows and all that kind of stuff. They did eventually see it. So of course they were geeked to see it, but kids never tell their parents, "Oh, that was really cool." It was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I saw you." But what's funny is that when I go to the school where they are, their friends are always freaked out, and then all of a sudden it's a cool thing. So it's, you know, kids are funny, man. Kids are funny.
That's great. Do you still
Okay.
like have a script like at all from your appearance on the episode?
Ooh, I may, but you know, like you said, I've been fortunate in that I've been able to work a lot over the years. So even though I've got some scripts saved, I have no idea where it is.
Like the other thing I was like curious about was like did they let you like maybe like take home like a parachute, like the parachute suit at all or anything like that?
No, I have it up on the wall back here. No, I didn't get a parachute or anything else. Just really just the memories. And I know that sounds cliche, but what is always interesting to me is that you know I get recognized for a lot of different things, but there's something about that episode and the fact that it was largely kids that watch it. When COVID first hit, literally, I've got, you know, this on, right? Going to grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. And people are like, "You were on Drake and Josh." And I'm just like, dude, you can only see this. How do you know that? But
Uh,
that's the impact TV has. And that means it must have been a cool episode. If they can remember you from this, there's something about the episode that really, really struck them here.
I can speak for myself, I'm 23 years old and I still go back and watch the show all the time. Because it just was such a good memory pleaser, and it's just always so fun to go back and just remember, when you first saw the episode and things like that. So I know that you mentioned that you see Drake at restaurants like maybe once in a while.
Yeah.
Do like keep in touch with anybody else from the show? It could be like the cast or maybe behind the scenes crew or anything like that, like maybe Dan Schneider or anybody like that.
I haven't seen Dan in years. Yvette Nicole Brown. That's where she and I met, even though we never acted together. And so we keep up with one another periodically. But that's probably the only person from that show that I can think of right now that I have an active relationship in any way.
And something else I'll point out, because I obviously did my research before I did this interview. There's a Instagram account called Dan Warp Shows, and you have a section in your Instagram profile of that. I don't know the person's identity, but they apparently got in contact with you, and you said like a few things that you've mentioned here to them about Drake and Josh. And one of the things that caught my attention when I was reading it was apparently Josh is very good at remembering his lines and being able to just go like really quick, because I've seen like apparently Nickelodeon shows go real quick, but apparently Josh was very good at like organized and everything like that. I guess I'll just ask I asked about like Drake and Josh together, but like as individuals, like when you saw them on the episode, like how were they as far as like their acting and like being able to like do the best they could?
Oh man, both of them were really, really good, really locked in. And I just had the sense that both of them were thankful to have the jobs. I've worked on a lot of different shows, obviously, and every now and then you'll run into people that there's an air of entitlement, for lack of a better description. Never got that sense from either one. Josh was probably more focused on the lines and being prepared, and Drake was prepared in a different way, and he would relax before scenes by playing his guitar, whatever. And you're thinking, man, this guy's over here messing around on the guitar. And it's like, no, that's just how he relaxes. And it just worked. But both of them were really, really cool, really good actors, really, exceptional, especially for the tone and tenor of that show. Absolutely perfect.
One thing I will mention to the audience, if you are curious at all about seeing this episode, I'm sure most of you who are watching this have seen it already, but if you're curious about owning it on DVD, Amazon released the episode on a DVD called Drake and Josh, The Best of Seasons 3 and 4. You can find it on eBay and Amazon. So I guess to wrap this up, what can we expect from you in the future? What do you got going on currently?
Let's see. Well, one, you never know what you're going to get in terms of jobs and job offers. So most recently, I did an episode of SWAT on CBS. Yeah, I think that aired in either January or the first part of February. And I have written a suspense thriller book, which is not comedy, but if you like suspense thrillers, it's in the vein of The Usual Suspects, Inside Man, Dog Day Afternoon. It's a book. It's called Rise of the Unicorn. And it's a suspense thriller about a police negotiator that has to negotiate the release of probably 30 hostages from a group of terrorists that we think were performing a bank heist, but in fact, it's not a bank heist at all. It's about something else. So, but that's available everywhere. I think it's even in Walmart. But if you go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Apple, any of those websites, you can get the book and or the ebook. And I think the audiobook is coming out in another month. But so aside from that, I don't know what I'm doing next. I've got a couple of things that I'm up for. And I haven't heard a response yet in terms of whether or not I'm getting the gig. So, man, who knows? But I do know that with this, the goal is to get it to the big screen also.
That's great. That's amazing. And everybody who's watching this video, I encourage you to please go pick up that book. I'm going to go pick up that book myself and support Mr. Elliot Woods here. And thank you so much for, spending some time to reflect on your role as Vince on Drake and Josh. And I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And you guys, if you want to see what else I've done, if you happen to be curious, look under it's D period Elliot Woods on like IMDb or wherever. I'm pretty easy to find. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And thank you so much. And hope you guys have enjoyed this interview. And along with Mr. Elliot Woods here, this has been Childhood DVD Fan. So long, everybody.
See you guys later.
Hey, this is Jonathan Goldstein Walter from Drake and Josh. I just want to thank you for watching Childhood DVD Fan right here on YouTube.